Okay, this is a reaction video. This is from Girl Gone London. This is 9 faux pas to avoid making in Britain culture shock as an American. Well, again, I don't know what she's going to be talking about here, and it's possible I might be going back to London next month. So, possible. Not guaranteed, but possible. I'm wearing my Arsenal jersey, and I got this at the Arsenal, the Armory in North London. I had a good time there, and hopefully maybe going back. But let's see what she's talking about here. Hopefully I didn't make any of these mistakes when I was there last time, and hopefully I won't make any of these in the future. But let's see what she's talking about.
After over 13 years in the UK as an American, I'm ready to bring you the faux pas that you should not make while in Britain. Have I made most of these myself? Probably. Do I make them anymore? No, and neither should you. Number 1. Cutting the queue. Let's get this out.
Yeah, that's one thing I understand, and that's something I did not do. Is when you're in line in England, in the United States, it's maybe a little bit different. If you're in line and your girlfriend comes along, she might jump in the line like that. But that's probably it. But that's something I've always heard. Walter's World says it on his channel. If you are in line in London, you do not cut the line.
Out of the way. In Britain, queuing is sacred. It's basically a religion. Jumping the line isn't just considered rude, it's like basically making you the Antichrist. It's immoral. It makes you a bad person. From bus stops to concert entrances, the post office, the supermarket, the British queue is a well-oiled, almost ceremonial institution. And what makes this even crazier is that Brits don't often need signs or floor markings to queue. People just instinctively form queues even when it's not clear where the front is. If you disrupt this ecosystem by pushing ahead, by standing too close, or by failing to recognize the invisible order, you'll likely get the famous British passive-aggressive treatment. Like, they're not going to punch you in the face, but they are going to give you the dirtiest look of your entire life, and they might mutter under their breath. Now
that was something I did not do. I mean, I don't think I had very many opportunities to get a part of a queue, but if I did, I think at the hotel. I think when I went to the hotel, there was a kind of a line that about 2 or 3 people. Okay, and one guy stepped to get a glass of water, something like that, and stepped back. I did not jump the line or anything like that, but yeah, that's probably the closest thing. But I don't really think I had too many difficulties. That when I had going to Arsenal into the stadium, the Emirates, I stood in line for about maybe 5 or 6 people, but I didn't cut the line there either. That's probably only 2 times that I had that problem in London, and I of course did not cut the line. I knew about that. I was aware of it.
You might think that this reverence for queuing is excessive, especially if you're American and you're used to basically just pushing people out of your way, but...
Well, again, not a lot of Americans do that. Now, we are, as basically as I understand, we're not as, I don't know, as... What's the word I'm looking for? As well-oiled machine as the Brits are, clearly, but not a lot of people cut the line in the United States. Okay, I understand where she's talking about that there are people who do that, but not a lot of people do that.
It serves as a really powerful symbol of British fairness. The idea that everyone has their place and deserves to be treated with equal consideration within the queue is deeply embedded. Even in chaotic situations like toilets at festivals or peak time train stations, the British do still instinctively queue up, keep calm, and carry on. Now, if you're not sure where the end of the line is, just ask. Ask, is this the queue? And you'll always be in someone's good books. Next on my list is getting personal too soon. While some cultures value openness and emotional immediacy, British people do not. British people tend to approach new relationships with a kind of restraint and asking overly personal questions.
Okay, now I was only there for 4 days, really. I mean, I left on a Wednesday, got back on a Monday. Didn't get a lot of time to know some people there, so I'll take her word for that. But yeah, in the United States, I mean, well, Yeah, I see where she's coming from.
Too early is just a no-go. Don't try and get too overly familiar too fast. You don't need to know their entire life story, how many children, grandchildren they have, what they did in the year 1986. Take your time, and even compliments can be met with a little bit of discomfort if they're too over the top and too forward. The British often prefer modesty, and self-deprecating humor and excessive praise comes across as insincere. And this doesn't mean that the British are unfriendly, far from it, but it does.
No, the British weren't unfriendly. I mean, the few interactions that I had with the British people were very friendly. They were very kind and very generous, but those just one or two word conversations. Those weren't like big, sit down, get to know you kind of conversations.
It does mean that the path to deeper friendships usually takes time and shared experiences here, and that's how the British prefer it. You might find that your British colleague is cheerful and polite at work, but maintains a noticeable personal distance outside of office hours. That doesn't mean they dislike you, it's just how the social dynamics here tend to unfold. Privacy is really a core value in the UK, and modesty is a sign that you're doing well. Ease into those deeper conversations naturally and let relationships build organically and gradually. And remember, silence isn't awkward in the UK. It's often comfortable. Now, the next faux pas on my list is calling everyone English. The UK is made up of 4 countries.
Yeah, the UK is. I don't think Scott. I think it's Ireland, Northern Ireland, Wales, and England. And I generally don't look. You don't call everybody English. There are people who are Welsh. There are people who are Irish. I get that, and there are people who are Scottish as well. Although I don't think Scotland is part of the UK.
Countries: England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland.
Okay, I guess that's Ireland. I got my fault. My fault. Please forgive me. I thought I thought that. Ireland and Northern Ireland and not Scotland. Okay, but fair enough.
Each has its own national identity, culture, history, and sometimes its own language and dialects. To call a Welsh person English or to refer to a Scotsman as that is not just incorrect.
It's also insulting to them as well, I believe. It's like when they had the 2012 when London hosted the Olympics, and they had the UK team. And the Scotland, I don't think the Scottish participated in that. And I heard there was a radio. It was an Englishman and a Scotsman, and the Scotsman called it rubbish that you would put in English. And they also had the home series championships that took place at the end of the season back in the 60s and 70s. And 80s, I think, where England played Scotland. So yeah, to call everybody English over there is incorrect.
But it touches on historic tensions and sometimes political sensitivities. For example, the Scots have a long history of struggle to maintain their identity, which includes campaigns for independence. Similarly, the Welsh language is a living, breathing part of everyday life for many people in Wales, and many Welsh people are fiercely proud of their heritage. The same goes for Northern Ireland. If you're unsure, say British rather than English.
Yeah, that's why what I normally say. I say Brit instead of English, because like I said, I can kind of tell the difference between the language and the dialect, but not all the time.
Sometimes people won't necessarily feel that they identify with that either, but at least it's technically correct. If you know someone's specific background, then say that. Scottish, English, Welsh, or Northern Irish. The next faux pas not to make in the UK is missing the nuances of British humor. British humor is world-renowned for being dry, ironic, and heavily reliant on understatement.
Well, as far as British humor is concerned, I think it's hysterical. I love Monty Python. I love John Cleese. Rowan Atkinson is also pretty good. Mr. Bean, and there's a few other things that I enjoy. But yeah, British comedy is very good.
It's often laced with sarcasm, self-mockery, and kind of pointing out the absurd. What might sound like a compliment could be a joke, and what seems like praise might be ironic. The subtlety can be confusing to outsiders. A Brit might say, well, that was a roaring success after a complete disaster, or not bad at all when they mean something was actually excellent. In addition, teasing is often a sign of affection. If a Brit makes fun of you to your face, they probably like you. Don't be offended. And don't take everything at face value. Pay attention to tone and context. Learning to laugh at yourself is key here, and if you're American like me with a completely different sense of humor that you were raised with, you can always ask, were you being serious or was that a joke? The next faux pas is neglecting basic politeness. Politeness...
Oh, that was big. I mean, that was one thing I was very attentive with, is excuse me, thank you, and things like that. I was very attentive about that when I was there in March. I thought that was, very, very important. And that's something I heard that the British are very big on over there, is that you need to be polite.
This is more than just good manners in the UK. It's a deeply ingrained part of the culture. Saying please, thank you, sorry, and excuse me are daily rituals, and if you don't use them, it will be noticed. You'll hear people saying sorry when they're not even at fault, thank you to bus drivers, and excuse me before asking a question.
Yeah, I had a situation when I was walking to the Emirates Stadium for the Arsenal game, and I tripped and I fell, and I basically put my arm out as instinctively, and I grabbed a guy's shoulder and basically caught myself with his shoulder. And before I was about to say excuse me when he said, "Oh, excuse me," and I said, "No, excuse me." And we basically, so that was it. I mean, it was really polite. I mean, I tripped and I basically caught myself on this guy's shoulder, and he said excuse me when I was the one at fault. And so I said, no, excuse me, my fault, I tripped, and he understood. But yeah, I think that's also, that should be happen everywhere, not just in England, not just in London. But yeah, that is true.
Politeness here is about maintaining harmony and avoiding confrontation. It shows respect and self-awareness and cultural fluency. Skipping those polite phrases can come across here as blunt, rude, or even downright aggressive. If you're in doubt in the UK, honestly, the best thing to do is just overdo it. You'd be better off doing too much apologizing here than not enough.
And that's what the guy did. I mean, he basically said, excuse me, when I was the one at fault. And she's 100% correct here. I mean, if you basically just say you're sorry, excuse me, please, thank you, things like that, that goes a long way.
Too many thank yous, too many excuse me's, rather than being the person who doesn't include these things in their conversation. Another faux pas in the UK is over-tipping, actually. Tipping in the UK can be confusing if you're used to different systems.
Yeah, in the United States, you normally get, the way you get a bill, and say it's $20 for your bill, okay? Normally, you pay 15 to 20% over that as a tip, because that's how the waitresses make their money. That's just how it's done. But I understand in England it's a little bit different, and it's not. I think what they do is in the pubs they put like a service tax or something like that on there that you can or can't pay. I think. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I understand that over tipping might be a problem, especially if you're an American and you're used to tipping.
It's not mandatory, but it is appreciated in moderation. In restaurants, a service charge of 10 to 12.5% is often added automatically. If it's not, you can leave around 10% for good service. But tipping in pubs, cafes, or fast food outlets is not expected. Over tipping can actually be awkward or performative. And overt tipping, like throwing down large sums of cash or making it awkward, can feel unnatural or even embarrassing to some Brits. So check your bill for a service charge. If it's included, you don't need to add more. The next faux pas on my list is being loud in public spaces. The British are
Yeah, that's something I hear about Americans from other YouTubers. Like in Germany and France, you can just call America because they're very, very loud. Now, I'm not loud. I generally don't. I'm not obnoxious like people are. But yeah, I have heard this problem from Americans that they are very, very loud.
enlarged a reserved group of people. Loud conversations on public transport or shouting across streets is generally frowned upon or seen as associated with.
Yeah, when I took the tube to the Arsenal game, I was amazed at how quiet it was. I mean, there were people that were talking, but it was you normally when I'm in like the L in Chicago or the Metro in DC, you can hear people talking. But in England, there were people talking, but you couldn't hear them. It really was very quiet, and even though people were talking, it was very quiet.
Something that happens after a football game. Public spaces are meant to be shared considerately. Speaking too loudly can be seen as disruptive and attention speaking, and it's especially taboo on trains and buses where silence is often golden. Even in more casual settings, such as a quiet pub or a National Trust site, excessive volume can be jarring, and I do understand from an American perspective that we tend to just speak more loudly, but Brits value a level of personal space that makes this volume seem inappropriate. I didn't say I was perfect, I'm just telling you some faux pas that maybe I have made as well. Try and match your volume to the environment. If no one else is talking loudly, take that as your cue.
Yeah, again, like I said, I'm not a loud person, and I was there by myself, and I think I'm going to go by myself next month possibly. I am not a loud person. Even when I'm with my family, I'm not loud. My brother's not loud. My father's not loud. My mom, who's passed away in 2023, she was not loud. My sister is kind of loud, but she knows how to handle herself in places and speak to tone. But for all intents and purposes, I do hear that Americans generally are loud, and we should need to quiet ourselves.
Again, save the high energy talking for things like sporting events or music festivals.
Yeah, at the Arsenal game against Chelsea, they were loud. They were very loud, and but that was expected, and that was good. But on the train and after the game, it was amazing how quiet it got.
Next on my list is misreading British pub etiquette. British pubs aren't just places.
Yeah, now this is I didn't make it to a British pub, but hopefully I'll make it to this next one. But as I understand it, you don't wait to be seated like in the United States. It doesn't. You go and sit where you want, and you don't. Nobody comes over there and asks you what you want and then brings it to you. How it works is, as I understand it, you go there, you take your seat, or you go to the pub to the counter. You order. You give them the number on your booth that you're at. And then I guess they'll bring it to you, or maybe they'll hand it to you. It's different than the United States. But let's hear what she has to say.
Places to drink. They're institutions with their own unwritten rules. There's a few to remember. Always order at the bar. Table service is not a thing. You go to them rather than them coming to you. Take turns buying rounds. If someone buys your drink, you're expected to return the favor later. And be patient at the bar. Don't wave your money or shout. Bartenders will serve in order. Also, respect the vibe. Some pubs are lively and others are more quiet. Try and match the mood. Additionally, understand that pubs are often used for more than just drinking, like I said. Families get.
Yeah, pubs are social events. I've seen a lot of videos on that. Pubs are social events where you go. I mean, you can bring your kids, you can bring your family, and you sit there and you socialize, basically, for all intents and purposes. Again, there are people there who go there to be by themselves, to read, things like that. But again, hopefully I'll get to visit a pub next month, hopefully, and see what that's actually like.
Gather there for meals, locals catch up after work, some pubs even host events and quiz nights. They're a real part of the local community, so be a part and join in. Just watch how others are behaving at that particular pub at first to try and understand how that one operates. And the final faux pas is assuming that everybody thinks the same. The UK...
Look, we have problems with that in the United States. I have a buddy who I constantly say, not everybody looks at things the same way that you do. And that's a huge problem with him. We've been friends for almost 11 years, and he still makes that mistake.
It's a diverse and multicultural and often politically divided country, just like yours, probably. Assuming that everyone thinks the same way because that's what you saw in the news or because they're British, so they must have the same values, often leads to awkward moments. For instance, Brexit remains a polarizing issue, and attitudes towards the monarchy vary widely. Some regions have strong independence movements, others feel deeply tied to British identity. Even within one country, so within England for example, there are vast cultural differences between the North and the South. Accents, slang, food preferences, and social norms can change dramatically even within just a few miles. And assuming that London is representative of the entire country is another common mistake.
Yeah, that's something I was aware of before I went there. I basically stayed in London. Now, I went to Windsor Castle, went to Stonehenge, and went to Bath. One thing it's like the United States in a lot of ways. People seem to think that Americans, in fact, this Girl Gone London seems to make this problem as well, that all Americans think a specific way. We don't, okay? We don't look at things the same way. We look at things differently, okay? In fact, in the United States, people in the Northeast look at things very different than the Deep South, and people in the Northwest look at things very differently in the Midwest. It's just, look, we are individuals. We are different people. We have our own way of looking at things.
Stay curious, ask respectful questions, and avoid assuming. Listen more than you speak sometimes, and you'll learn a lot. Now that brings me to the end of this video. My British audience who are watching, comment below with any more faux pas that people make.
Yeah, this was interesting. Please click like, share, and subscribe for Girl Gone London, as well as for me. And hopefully, maybe I'll see some of you in London next month. Maybe not. We'll see. We'll see if everything works out. But please click like, share, and subscribe. I would appreciate it. Have a good rest of your day. Thanks for watching.